Global warming and climate change have caused climate injustice and dangerous disruption to the natural world. Nature and biodiversity loss are undermining the sustainable development goals. Pollution and waste are killing millions of people each year.
Depending on the season, several people in Kenya enjoy good weather where the sun is never too hot and the rain never too heavy, so it might be a bit hard to relate to those in harsher areas where the rain turns into floods and the sun to severe drought.
You don't need science to know climate change is real. You can see and witness the devastation of floods when it rains, or the devastation of drought when it doesn't rain. So Kenya is perpetually, like most part of Africa and developing countries, perpetually under emergency.
Research has proven sunny days to have the power to pick up one's moods with chances of reducing worry, while rainy days could increase the chances of worrying. However, for women and children in the arid and semi-arid areas of Kenya, a sunrise could be a nightmare.
Now, I'm in the area that borders Garissa and Tana River County in the northern region of Kenya. Now, many of the residents here are pastoralists with some practicing farming. As you can see, the sun is too hot. These are leading to drought. Currently, the temperatures are reading around 38 degrees Celsius. Now, many of the residents here have lost their livestock. Now, imagine the loss that comes with the loss of livestock or the loss of wealth, because many of the residents here consider livestock to be wealth. How about the loss of a loved one, a child, a wife, a husband, the frustration and the hopelessness? Now, how about the impact or the harm that these laws have to the affected?
Habiba Holat's beautiful smile turns into a frown with anxiety every time the sun persists, for it means no water, no pasture for her livestock, no food, no nothing, just a hopeless situation full of thoughts.
Tumepita kwanza shida mingi sana. Sisi watu wa mfugaji. Tuko nayo mbuzi imeenda. Kuna shamba. Najua mtu kama iko shamba anajisaidia. Kuna shamba. Hapa hakuna mahali ya kisima, iko na kisima. Na anaweza jisaidia mtu. Tumepita alhamdulillah.
Munzatsi, a term not known to many, but a condition many are currently undergoing due to climate change, the worst hit being women and children who have to travel for kilometers in search of water, not just for them, but for their livestock too.
Sasa mtu ikukufa kitu yake lazima atasikia uchungu, lakini hakuna uwezo anaweza zuia. Najua hii Mungu ndo ameleta.
Munzatsi is the worry that comes with extreme weather conditions, whether drought, famine or floods. This comes about when people feel they cannot control environmental problems, especially climate change.
When their animals die and they were hoping to sell these animals and raise school fees for their families, these are the animals they keep on selling one by one, and they buy foodstuffs for their families. Of course, they will commit suicide because they become hopeless.
It's the idea where you have a particular climatic, environmental or ecological state that affects your whole being, your mental and your emotional state. If you're to go to the arid and the semi-arid areas of this land, whenever there's an extreme event, so either flooding or a drought, you will hear pastoralists speaking about how if there's been a loss of cattle, of livestock I should say, how they'll have so much despair because they've lost their livelihood, and which is a very unfortunate state. And so that's where the anxiety comes from.
'Munzatsi, a term not known to many, but a condition many are currently undergoing due to climate change, the worst hit being women and children who have to travel for kilometers in search of water, not just for them, but for their livestock too.
Nakuanga na huanga kwa sababu ile mvua inakujanga mara moja, inakuja ile ya mafuriko mingi sana. Hiyo mbegu ya kwanza inaenda, unatafuta zingine, unapanda inaenda tena. Sasa mpaka huo nafikiria na huo na uonga, ukipanda tu mvua ikikuja hiyo inaenda.
Amina Yusuf, a pastoralist and farmer from Tana River County in Kenya, wishes she had the ability not just to control the weather patterns, but also the extreme worry and impact that comes with it. Every loss and impact, she says, pulls her behind economically.
Mimi nasikianga mbaya kwa sababu mimi kama ningekuwa na uwezo ningekuwa mbele sana, lakini naturudisha nyuma kila siku.
When such events happen, that's when somebody's like, I don't know if I can continue with this. Because if you're a pastoralist, for example, and you've had subsequent loss of livestock for 2-3 years, that's like me getting into you having your bank account being stolen. Somebody stealing from your bank account for the past 3 years. So you've saved for a year, somebody comes and takes it. Save for another year. So that's the despair that we feel, and that's where it can really, when it gets to that point, when somebody becomes desperate, anything can happen at that particular moment.
The American Psychiatry Association referred to Munzatsi as a chronic fear of environmental doom, research showing a rapid increase in the cases, which they say could lead to chronic mental health conditions to those already affected.
Yes, our environment can cause us stress in different ways. And usually the reason why we get stressed is because we were expecting a different outcome. We had expectations for something different. And when you expect something that is not coming, then you get distressed, or you get anxious, or you start fearing the worst, or maybe you start worrying about something that you may think may come. Unfortunately, all these are negative emotions, and negative emotions take a toll on our immunity system, takes a toll on how we function as a human, and also takes a toll on how we even associate with other people.
Anxiety around environmental issues can stem from experiencing being at risk or having a loved one at risk.
Wakati ya kiangazi, yule ilikuwa wakati ya mvua imeanza kununua mbuzi 2-3. Akifika hiyo wakati ya kiangazi, sasa hiyo kiangazi yakianza, sasa mtu anaanza kupata stress. Kama mama, wakati hiyo ikifika, stress yako sinaona silikuwa angalau nimesonga kiasi sababu nimepata mbuzi 2-3, lakini sasa kiangazi ikikuja, kwa imani yako unaona hiyo mbuzi itapotea, itakufa.
In the northern part of Kenya, Garissa County included, a number of people have committed suicide due to loss of their livestock. A slight reduction of drought or the presence of short rains prompts pastoralists to getting more livestock. However, when drought hits hard, they lose almost everything.
Tulisikia story hawa sehemu za Northeastern Garissa. Kuna wazee wengi kuna mzee kuna mbuzi ngombe 300 zote zikakufa, ikabaki na 5 amejinyonga. Kuna mwingine ilikuwa family amelala na njaa, ngombe yote ameshakufa. Family ilikuwa inategemea hiyo ngombe, amejiua.
Anyone who experienced the wrath of the 1997-1998 El Nino rains in Kenya will tell you of the anxiety they had every time there were heavy rains, and anyone living near a river will narrate to you the worry that comes with floods, especially those that have lost property or a loved one drowned as a result of floods.
We don't need to become despondent because we've not gotten to the point where we can control weather. It is important for us as ourselves to now become more proactive. So if this we're going to live with, we need to adapt to it.
Now, the highest temperature currently at Garissa County and Tana River County is about 37 degrees Celsius. So we can only imagine in case the situation becomes severe, which it does, we can only imagine the frustrations and the hopelessness that the farmer will have, considering the investments put in this farm.
William Kegicha, a farmer in Garissa County, remembers vividly the 2018 floods that led to him losing millions of money due to the investments he had done in this farm.
Mwaka wa 2018 nakumbuka. Hayo ndio mafuriko ni experience chawahi kuona. Manake yalichukua engine ya millions of money. Sasa kama ile engine kubwa ya karibu 1.2 million ile ya Listapita imesukuma zaidi ya engine 50. imeenda na maji ikaingia hivyo tu ikasukuma.
Just like a number of mental health conditions, Munzatsi does not have a magic pill. These women have painted the situation here as hopeless, indicating that they have surrendered to every situation.
Tunalilia tupate angalau mtu wa kutusaidia. Lakini sisi hatumuonangi. Sisi tu wenyewe tunajikokota, tunatengeneza vitu inakauka, hatuna uwezo mwingine. Tunaomba Mungu tu.
Haiwezi kusaidia wewe na kitu imetoka anakauka. Saidisi anaongojea upande Mwenyezi Mungu tu.
And if water becomes a scarce resource, you can become very desperate. And when you're desperate, then you can find yourself on the brink of hopelessness.
However, experts say that all is not lost.
It is not appropriate. It is not something that should be an option to take. Because when we give up, when you become hopeless, even to hope and to look forward to tomorrow becomes a real challenge.
Having lived in Botswana, a generally warm and hot country, psychiatrist Washera Masharia shares some of the ways women and children in the arid and semi-arid areas in Kenya can adopt in order to improve their mental health state after a loss, as well as prepare for such occurrences before and when they occur.
There are three options they can take. They can adjust, they can adapt, or they can avoid. So the first one is very easy. To adapt is basically accept. Where will you take the sun? Here it comes. So either bask as much as you can, and when you're tired of basking, find a shade. It also enables you to start thinking positively about it. When I talk about adjusting, now that the sun is going to be here for a longer duration, what do you do about it? Is there something that you can do from the sun? Can you bake with the sun? Can you use it for the energy? How do you adjust to it? Then when it's a void, then leave the space. Find another space that is more adaptable to. But every place you go for, or you seem to identify, you'll always find there's a good and or a negative about it. So find the good, find the plus in this space and adapt to it. Always remember, you're not alone in this space. Maybe you don't know anyone else, but you're not alone. And there are others who have overcome the challenge that you're going through. So you can also overcome.
It is said that a problem shared is a problem half solved. These women from Kilifi County, one of the arid and semi-arid areas in Kenya, being a proof that community group works and they improve a sense of connection. To solve environmental problems, they came together to plant mangrove trees to conserve the environment and also make a living.
Kile kupande sana ambao unanifurahisha ni kwamba huu mkoko kwa kutunza mazingira, ninajua huu mkoko huwa unatupatia hewa safi. Pia ni muhimu sana kwa viumbe vingine kama wale samaki vile.
Mangrove also store a lot of carbon. Studies done show that they store even more than 10 times carbon than the normal trees because of the extensive root system.
Research by the United Nations Environmental Programme shows that mangroves are among the world's most dynamic ecosystems, and therefore this wonderful act of saving the environment through mangroves being done by these women can be applied by Amina, Habiba and any other woman in arid and semi-arid areas. Hopelessness and the anxiety that comes due to loss will be a feeling of the past in due time.
And you can also brainstorm when you're with someone, because then you'll say, oh, I had this happen. Oh, why don't we try out this? For example, solar energy. Solar energy, they can actually know or learn how to trap the sun energy and manage even maybe to make it an income where you can share it out. They can use the radio. They can maybe find how to convert solar energy to use for their phones. So they can learn these skills. They can also learn skills that they can do in their home, like maybe beadwork, or they can learn how to make like yogurt and things if they have probably cows or livestock or even goats that they can, even camels are milked and they can make some products from this milk, or they could even make some products from the hide of the same animals. So they can find different tasks that they can adapt to within their level. As much as you might say they might be having other challenges when it comes to income, they have other benefits that they can maximize around them.
Even the young girls and the women there, let them not feel like they are left out. Let them also, in that support group, they'll be able to share information which is coming from other groups far and wide. And so they'll be able to tell their fathers and their husbands that I think it's time we release their animals. The wives, you'll be able to influence their husbands, because I think it's the men who tie so much the animals. They don't want to lose, because these animals is their lifeline. And you see in those, the catch are there. If you do not have the cows, the camels, and the goats, then it looks like you are not a man. But the women and the girls can influence their men. Let us release, because money in the pocket, money in the bank, dad, is food security for the whole family.
During the United Nations Climate Change Conference COP26, the Kenyan government agreed to raise resources for investment in climate change mitigations programs. By doing this, the Kenyan government, together with other stakeholders, have put in place a number of mitigations in order to improve the current situation in the affected areas.
We need to urgently implement bold mitigation and adaptation measures to avert the looming crisis. It is the least that we can do to bequeath a peaceful and sustainable planet to future generations.
In addition, a lot can be done more so sustaining actions in order to improve the lives of women, children, and everyone affected by anxiety that comes with changes in weather patterns, so that the mitigations from the policymakers are not short but long-term.
We need to take that upon ourselves and say that yes, this sunshine, there's a lot of it, what can we use it for? This would be now, when you're talking to a meteorological person who can predict how weather works, for farmers, they can tell us we need to plan better. We need to, get better. If you're a farmer and now you have a bumper maize harvest, you now start thinking of how to dry it and keep it longer, because that's how we adapt.
Even as we establish the tree belts, we increase our tree belts to 10% tree cover in our country. Before we reach that, then we cannot let ourselves get destroyed. There must be survival tactics. How are we going to survive until we accomplish the 10% forestry cover? By giving 10% of our national government budget to food security. Because food security is only also going to cater for the pastoralists, because animals are their food.
Conserve an area for a long time. So that's a good place to also be. It's raising awareness and teaching our own people. So your nieces, nephews, children, the neighborhood children, even just having a whole clean the estate, to clean a plot, to clean an area sort of initiatives really helps, because that way they can understand the problems that are within society. And it also makes you move from that point of helplessness to that I can actually do something to effect change.
Whether affected or not affected mentally by the changes in weather patterns, it's everyone's responsibility to improve the current environmental problems brought about by climate change in order to avoid and reduce the cases of eco-anxiety. By doing this, women, children, and the society at large will be safe from fear, worry, and hopelessness, for the enemy will have been identified and dealt with.